Hey guys, it's Ben. I'm making this video today about experiences in meditation and spiritual work. I've been teaching people now for around 4 years and practicing meditation myself for over 20 years. As many of you know, I was introduced to it when I was about 6 years old by my dad, who was a meditation teacher, and then I was also taught by his teacher, who was an avatar, which I've spoken about before on this channel, which is essentially a divine master, which sounds ridiculous every time I say it, but that is the truth. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about spiritual experiences in meditation and mystical experiences, because it's something that, since I've shared my own experiences, I've had many people come forward and say, I've been meditating for so many years, or and I've not had an experience yet, or I've just gotten into the work and I want to have an experience. What's your advice? And I want to really help you today, because I feel like this is a very misunderstood area of spirituality. Now, first and foremost, it's very hard for a lot of people anyway, if you've not had a profound experience, to actually determine whether the experience you've had or you are having is a mystical experience, a real experience, so to speak, or a illusionary experience, a psychological phenomenon, you could say. There are many people that have plenty of psychological phenomena happen throughout meditation, and quite often they actually enhance spiritual pride. They enhance this sense of an advancement in your spiritual progress, when actually they're not. They're actually a distraction. And it's very hard to distinguish especially for beginners, to determine, whether the experience is illusionary or whether it is a genuine experience. When you do have a genuine experience, there's no doubt. All of your doubt is removed, and there are no questions anymore. There are questions with regards to spiritual topics and things, but there are no questions as to whether it was a spiritual experience or not. And I often hear people say, oh, I had an experience of this sort, and I'm not sure whether it was real or not. If you're not sure, let me tell you, it probably wasn't, because you are absolutely certain when you've had a genuine spiritual experience, because it's more real than this reality. And that is something that I've mentioned a lot in different videos, but I can't emphasize it strongly enough. When you have a profound spiritual experience, or a genuine spiritual experience, it's more realistic than this. So it feels like you're regressing when you kind of come back to your body, or when you come back to your body consciousness. It does feel like you've stepped down. So there are no questions as to whether it was real or not when you have a genuine one. The other thing is, some psychological phenomena appears very realistic. It feels very real, but there is a difference. I've had it before throughout the years, where I've had psychological phenomena appear and happen throughout my meditations and my spiritual work. Things like mental images appearing, colors and other things, lights and things like this. And some of them are genuine, but some of them are psychological phenomena. And at the start, it's hard to distinguish. When you have then a really profound experience, all of those other ones are pushed to the wayside. They are, totally insignificant in comparison. But also, a lot of these experiences don't actually do anything for your longer term goal, you could say. So you have to come back to the question of, what am I doing this for? Why am I meditating? And I'm going to assume, because most of the people that watch my channel are doing it for spiritual benefits. They're doing it because they want to understand, and not just theoretically understand, but experientially understand who they are. They want to experience more and more of their deeper divine self. They want to understand the divine. They want to understand and experience themselves as the divine, or at higher levels of consciousness. There are various ways of wording it, but ultimately they want experience of themselves. They want to get closer to the truth. They're truth seekers. And so if that's you, if you categorize yourself as a truth seeker, then these experiences that are coming and going can't be the truth. They might help you to understand yourself a little bit deeper. They might give you more certainties about things, but ultimately they're not the absolute truth. They're a fraction of the truth. Otherwise, they'd be permanent. They'd always be there. Your experience would no longer be changing, you know? So experiences come and go, and that is totally normal in this work of meditation and spirituality. And I want to let you on a bit of my history with this, because it might put your mind at ease if you're someone who's been meditating for some time and you're thinking, well, nothing seems to be happening. Well, I was meditating from the age of 6 on and off, and then I really then picked it up again properly in my late teenage years, early 20s. I'm 31 now. So let's say that I've been meditating full on properly for the last 10 years. Before that was kind of staggered, and I'd built up a good amount of experience and I've been practicing and things like that, but properly for the last 10 years. And I would say that it took me maybe 6 or 7 years before I started to have more profound experiences. So I'd have meditations or I'd meditate and I'd have experiences where I felt bliss. I had peace of mind. I had that just internal bliss that was sort of felt like it was blossoming from inside and permeating every cell in my body. I had that most times that I would meditate, even in the early days, and then it would gradually kind of fade out throughout the day. But I didn't have any sort of real profound out-of-body experiences or anything like that until much, much later. 7, 8, 9 years in, that's when I started having things like that happen. Up until that point, occasionally I would see lights, occasionally I would see colours. I would have, as I say, this bliss overcome me. A lot of the benefits that I noticed were mental. So I noticed that my mind became much quieter. I became a lot less reactive in situations. I got pretty much total control over a lot of my emotions. Occasionally, these things overwhelm me, but it's very rare now, very, very rare that an emotion comes in with such strength that I can't manage it. Normally, I barely have any strong emotions in terms of anger and jealousy and things like that. A lot of those were, for want of a better way of putting it, kind of purified. It felt like I'd purified myself more and more. So these were the kind of benefits that I noticed early on. Much better emotional control, a much calmer mind, a feeling of contentment internally. And then this bliss that would permeate through me when I was meditating. And this bliss is because I'm in meditation, I'm saying I, but all of us, we receive the divine light. We kind of turn our minds away from the world for half an hour or so, and we open up, for want of a better way of describing it, to the divine light. And that divine light starts to filter through from the crown, and we feel that as this bliss, this sense of contentment, this joy that kind of overflows from you. And that is the divine light in most cases. But these are the kind of benefits and experiences that I'd had. They weren't profound. It wasn't like I was in another plane or, something was massive was happening. These were beautiful, but kind of, a lot of people that meditated would talk about these kinds of things. And what I didn't appreciate was that those experiences are profound in as much as they're preparing the mind for the greater experiences. They're preparing you for greater experiences in the future. They are amazing signals of growth. And those things alone, so many people on the planet would die for a lot of those things, to have peace of mind, to not be tormented by anger and jealousy, to have that sense of contentment, to start your day and for an hour or two into the day, just be feeling this bliss permeating through your body. These experiences are profound, but I think now in our day and age, because we've got such a broad view, we can go onto YouTube and we can see everyone around the world. We're comparing our experiences to a whole entire world's, experiences in a way. And obviously there are going to be such variations in people's experiences. And it doesn't necessarily mean that someone is more advanced because they've had some kind of experience early on. It's obviously just correct for them for whatever reason. But what I'm really getting at is that you have to come back to the reason why you're doing it. And for me, it's to understand and connect to the divine, which is what I mentioned earlier. And so these experiences that come along, as beautiful as they are and as helpful as they are sometimes, they're not the ultimate experience. So it doesn't really matter if you're having them or not. It's nice, and I feel very grateful for a lot of the experiences I've had. And for me personally as a teacher, it's enabled me to teach with much more confidence because I know these things to be true now rather than understanding them theoretically. I've actually experienced a lot of it, so I can say it with much more confidence and certainty, which is great from my point of view. But in terms of actually, the spiritual goal, if you like, which there is a goal for me, which is to merge back with the divine, return back to my source, if you like, rather than only experiencing myself as a limited body-mind level of consciousness. I want to experience myself as everything. That's what I believe the end goal to be. So for me, it's constantly chipping away and sitting in meditation. And I've had periods where for a year, I barely had any experiences. For longer, sometimes I think, other than these kind of like blissful experiences, I remember having a stage between the first 2 years I started meditating, 3 years when I got back into it in my early 20s, were really good. I felt a lot of bliss, a lot of peace. All of these changes I've spoken about within my mind, felt a lot calmer. And then I had a phase in the middle where there appeared to be absolutely nothing happening. And I would sit down, and I reckon, I said it was a year, I reckon it was longer, maybe even 2 years, where I sat down to meditate every single day for 20, 30 minutes at this stage. And it didn't really feel like anything was happening. Occasionally I'd feel a bit of bliss. Occasionally I'd still had the peace of mind, but I didn't have much happen. And then it all came in one go and absolutely blew my mind. And it was almost like it was building up. I didn't realize it was building up, but it was. And there are lots of things that happen that are in the background that we don't understand, we don't realize are happening. So never get concerned that you've not had an experience yet, because you can become way too attached to an experience or the desiring of an experience rather than the end goal, which is divine, which is to communicate and connect to the divine. That's ultimately what meditation is. It's a key. We have a key and we can turn it one way, and the key is the mind. We can turn it towards the world, which most people do, or we can turn it the other way and experience the divine light, which is what we're actually doing when we meditate. And so all of these other little experiences are nice. Yeah, they can be helpful at times. They can show you that you're progressing, but they're not the ultimate goal, so they don't really matter. And everyone's experiences are different as well, and everyone's at a different point. It's correct for some people to have these experiences and not others. But what I'm really getting at is that my advice is not to worry and concern yourself with actual experiences, because you become too preoccupied with the experience rather than getting back to the divine, connecting to the divine, seeing the divine, whichever way you want to call it, term it. That's actually what you're meditating for. The experiences that come along with it are kind of bonuses. So try not to get too caught up in them. Many people can actually expand their spiritual pride rather than destroying it, which is what we're trying to do. We're trying to make ourselves very small when we meditate in terms of our sense of I, our ego. We're trying to shrink that because when we reduce the I, we actually open up more space for this divine light to come in. It's definitely been my experience that the more I have not thought less of myself in terms of confidence and self-belief, but thought less of myself in terms of Ben. I've given less importance to Ben as a body-mind entity. I've allowed more consciousness in. I've allowed more light in, and that light has expanded me. So you do have to make yourself very small in this game. Meditation does do that. Sometimes spiritual experiences can actually enhance your sense of I, your sense of ego that you're trying to reduce. So sometimes it can be counterproductive. But I hope this video has been helpful. I didn't plan it. I just went with what I felt come through at the time and what I felt would be useful for you. I really hope you've enjoyed it. Please let me know if you have any questions or things that you want to talk about in the comments. I always love reading them and get back to as many of you as I can. I'll leave it at that for now. Thanks so much, and I'll see you on the next video.